Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rusty 78609 live and in color from Fort Clark Springs, Texas on a beautiful day. The wind just turned out of the north. The temperature is dropping right now inside the RV, my Class C motorhome. It is about 78 degrees, which is muy bueno. No air conditioner on, but this is Beer 30 Sanity session. So let's salute. Cheers. Prost. Drink. Mm, mm. That's good, but you do you, I do me. I drink beer, you drink, and whatever you want. But anyway, yeah, it's Beer 30, guys. Chill out, relax. Weekend on the horizon now. Looks like it's going to be pretty weather in this part of Texas, or probably most of Texas. Some parts of Texas may have gotten some bad weather. I don't know. Here, no problemo. The wind just turned out of the north, and it's cooling down. It's supposed to be in the mid 40s in the morning, which is nice. What's that got to do with Beer 30? Everything. Everything. Why? Because that's good. And what we talk about on at Beer 30 is good stuff, relaxing, no mind boggling crap, just simple stuff. Why? Because that way you can regain your sanity from a week of crap. You know what I mean? You know, particularly for you guys that are still in the workforce and you have to put up with a lot of politics. You know what I mean? Well, I did it. I survived, and you will too. Skull. Mm-hmm. You know, guys, I rack my brain every week to come up with something to chat about during this Beer 30 Sanity session. And usually I end up going back to, when I was growing up or that period in my life because, to talk about stuff that's happening currently, I don't know, is that of interest? I mean, I think that's covered pretty well by the news less media. So, what I'll touch on is, what was it like growing up on a farm in South Texas in the 1950s? Won't that be exciting? If that doesn't help you regain your sanity, nothing will. So yeah, no, it was so simple, man. I mean, in the 1950s, from my growing up period mainly, like from 1950 to 63 in that range, 13 years. That was because I was born in 1945, so that took me all the way to age 17, 18, and yeah, that's where you form all your habits and stuff. So, but be that as it may, did grow up on a farm, and we raised crops. Isn't that exciting? That's what farmers do. And we raised corn, cotton, maize, which was a little grain, not to be confused with corn. The Native Americans call uh, maize is corn or whatever. But we also had flax seed or flax that we grew, and of course back then that was the oils were used for a lot of stuff, and it was replaced by synthetics, and that went down the mountain. So we switched to a little wheat, and you know what I mean. But it was a farm life, guys. I mean, it was a farm life. We lived in a home. It had a bedroom for my mother and daddy, a bedroom for me and my brother, and then a bedroom for my sisters. I had two sisters, one brother, and but the room that my brother and I were in, I think I've mentioned, it's just a small room. It was a greenhouse that my dad converted into a small bedroom there. But anyway, that was so. I'd say the whole square footage of the house might have been 1,000 square feet, if that. But it had a front porch, a covered front porch, and yeah, it was heaven. That was for me. It was all there was, But without television, we had one radio, we had one oscillating fan. It was a General Electric because I remember in the center of the front of the fan where they put their names, it had GE in the old script. Yeah, I remember watching it turn. I thought that was amazing. How does this thing do that? Anyway, I was always asking stupid questions. But yeah, we had cows, but we didn't have a lot of cattle or till later on. My dad started getting into the cattle business when I was like 15, 16. We ended up having about I think we had about 30 head to 50 head of cattle at one time. I don't remember. We had an old bull named Charlie. I've talked about him, Charlet, and anyway, yeah, but mainly the hogs. God, we had hogs, Duroc hogs, Duroc, Duroc, but they were reddish in color, and yeah, that was a job taking care of them. But anyway, moving along. Yeah, I had a couple of hogs that were pets, and there's a story about that. We had every year we had a show at the FFA. We had a animal show or whatever you call it. What do they call it? I can't remember. But anyway, you showed your animals and you got first, second, third, or nothing. Anyway, I got one first and one second because I showed two hogs. But of course, we raised hogs so I could pick what I wanted. But I'd already picked these. I'd had them as pets. They'd follow me around just like a dog. And so anyway, I took them to the show and got a first and a second and put them back in the pen. And then I had to go home and feed the hogs at home. And I thought, hell, while I feed the hogs, I'll just get a trailer, come back to the deal, and pick up my two hogs and take them back home. Well, I didn't realize they didn't tell me all the story. What they do is after the show is over, they load up the animals and haul them out to the auction barn and auction them off. And I didn't know that. And so anyway, long story short, I ended up coming back. Hogs weren't there. I go to the auction barn and found out my hogs had already sold. I don't know, the bank bought them or somebody, some friend of my daddy's probably. But anyway, but they paid a hell of a premium for them because anyway, I was really getting kind of down because the hogs had been sold, and so I go to this cashier where they told me to go, and she handed me a check for like $250. I thought, whoa, this was like 19, I don't know, 55, 57 in there. And yeah, I thought, geez, that's a lot of dough, babe. And so my love for my hogs was bought. She bought my love with that check. So that was the end of the hog deal. But life then, we were really close to nature. I mean, everything was, I got to see calves born, little pigs, born, and dogs, puppies, born, and cats born. I got to see nature at its finest, and we're no different. We want to separate ourselves by saying, well, we've got frontal lobes and we can reason. Guys, believe me, here's to you, here's to me. The reason cows don't drive cars is they don't have any hands. When they get driverless vehicles, cows will be in, and so will hogs and every other animal. But anyway, yeah, it's just we were right with nature. And we not only had animals, but we had plants. Corn and stuff, and you got to see it go in the ground as a seed, and then perk up through the ground and become cotton or become corn stalks and all that stuff. And it was great, man. It was at the time I didn't pay much attention to it probably, but looking back, it was a hell of a good experience. There were 4 kids, of course, my mother and daddy in that house, and we had 2 heaters, Dearborn heater. I've talked about that before. Propane, and really cold winter days. The inside of the house is pretty damn cold, but we did also have, during the summers when everybody was at home, and the crops were in the ground. But anyway, my mother prepared 3 sit-down meals every day, not every other day, every day, and then also whatever we ate, our hired hand Andreas got the same thing. I've told you about that, calling him, and he died and all that shit. Anyway, but yeah, the whole family, 6 of us sitting at this table. I can still see us. There was a little dining room deal, and and it was pretty neat. Somebody had to say the blessing or whatever you call it, and everybody had one memorized. Hell, you could say it in your sleep, and I don't remember what mine was. It's pretty damn simple. You can bet on that. Let's eat. Amen, and that kind of cuts the crap out. But yeah, and it was good food. Mother fixed hamburgers, enchiladas. What else? I don't remember what else we had. Well, she'd fry these little steaks and stuff because we had our own meat. Had a lot of pork chops and of course you had chicken, fried chicken, muy bueno, and yeah. But the whole family was there at the table. And you didn't skip. You know what I mean? You didn't say, well, I'm sorry, I got them on my laptop. We didn't even know what that word was. A laptop was the top of your lap. That's it. But anyway, but as long as Mother Nature and the weather cooperated, everything went perfectly. Everything was in harmony. You know what I mean? But every now and then, Mother Nature would throw you a curved ball, either too much damn rain or too little rain, and those crops we didn't irrigate, you know, and so we were completely dependent on Mother Nature, just like they were hundreds of years ago. But we did okay, you know. We had hit a good crop every now and then, kept the bank happy, and everybody was just fine. And so, but in the wintertime, with just those two little heaters, Dearborn heaters, we only ran one at night, as I recall, and that was in a hallway, kind of a central hallway between all the bedrooms, and but it would get pretty damn cool. But we didn't have, you know, super insulated blankets or electric blankets or any of that stuff or downfilled things. No, we had homemade quilts. My grandmother made quilts, and she made a lot of quilts because she had quilting bees at her home in town, 3 miles away, and so we had plenty of cover, and it was damn good. And I slept as my brother and I got older. We were on one bed because he was 6 years older, always giving me a hell of a time. So anyway, they got me a cot and put it on one side of the room, but to me it seemed like it was really high off the ground, but it really wasn't. It was probably just a normal cot, and I was just a little person. But anyway, so I slept on that cot, but I had plenty. I was comfortable, man. In the winter, in the fall and winter, it was perfect. But in the summer, because I didn't have a window by my bed, my brother did, but he left. You know, when I was still a kid, because he was 6 years older. So I got that. Anyway, moving along. But anyway, whenever school was in session, uh, I was out there. I was out there in the boonies by myself, and and I'm sure that that formed my personality. I mean, being alone does not bother me. You know what I mean? Because I was alone in the formative periods of my early life, and it wasn't like being in town where you could walk somewhere and there'd be people, like walk down to the drugstore or walk somewhere, and there'd be people around. I could walk anywhere and there were no people. There were animals around, but and I guess I'm sure I talked to them just like I talk to anybody now. But it was early to bed, early to rise, and I lived an unstructured life in a lot of ways because I don't remember my parents ever telling me, even when I was driving my car, my family or the family car, to go to dances and all kind of shit. I don't remember them ever saying, well, be sure and be home by midnight or 11 o'clock or 1 or whatever. They never said a word about that. Never, never, never. No. But I always got home early anyway. Why? Because there wasn't shit to do after midnight. I mean, you drank all the beer you could drink and you headed home. And one thing about my mother, God bless her soul, uh, when I'd come home, there'd be something waiting for me to eat. Yeah, it sure would. It would either be in the refrigerator or it'd be sitting out on the table. And, sometimes she'd have two of those wonderful hamburgers she could make. Oh, man, with some homemade fries. We had our own garden, garden potatoes and stuff. Oh, man, eat till you hurt yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah, but she just did that. She didn't. I never asked her, and she never asked me. She never said, "Well, you want something to eat when you get home?" Never. She just did it, and I took advantage of it, or did it, or ate it, because I didn't want to hurt her feelings. You know what I mean? So I cleaned my plate, and that was another thing. Whenever we were all sit down there at the table, and you put stuff in your plate, go ahead, man, load that mother up. Oh, and the gravy. Oh, God almighty, I forgot gravy. My mother could make the best gravy in the world, man. Jeez. Anyway, but yeah, if you loaded your plate up, you better clean it. You know what I mean? Or you going to sit there till you do? I mean, no kidding, man. And I heard this a million times, not a million, but several. Either my dad, I guess my dad or my mother would say something like, well, go eat up. There's people in China that are starving. Well, at that time, there probably were. But, I'm thinking, I didn't even know where China was. What part of Texas is that in? There is a town called China Springs, but here's to you, here's to me. Mm-hmm. See, I'm helping you regain your sanity already. You see what I mean? I'm bringing you back to Mother Earth. all the way down to the ground, man. Can you see those crops growing in the field? I can. Can you hear the birds? I can. And I could hear those old hogs oinking when I'd go out to the pen because they were so excited I was fixing to feed all 100 of them or whatever the hell they were. But yeah, life was at that for my formative years up until I was age. I think we moved into my grandmother's house from the country when I was a junior in high school, and then that changed. That was totally different for me. I was not that was total and just like now for me being in a neighborhood, it's totally different. I'm not used to people being this close other than in RV parks and making strange noises like whatever they do. But yeah, it's just. But what I want to do is I wanted to take you, ladies and gentlemen, back to the farm. And for those of you that lived on a farm or lived in the country, then you know what I'm talking about. And for those of you that lived during the 1950s, that even lived in town, you know how simple life really was. People did not lock their doors. People even their car doors. And since cars weren't air conditioned, the windows were down all the way around the car. You didn't have to worry about somebody stealing your smartphone because you didn't have one. You didn't even have a phone at home, most of you. I mean, we didn't. We finally got one when I was about, I don't know, I was 7 or 8. We got a phone, an 8-party line. I know I've talked about that. And people don't realize what that is. Our ring was 2 shorts. Our phone number was 503W1. And I'd just pick up the phone anywhere in town and say, hey, Patsy, where's Mama? She knew my mother. She was my cousin anyway. And yeah, it was kind of like all kin folks around. But yeah, it was a great way to grow up. It can't go back. Thomas Wolfe, wrote the book, You Can Never Go Home Again, or whatever the name of it was. It's so true. You can't. You can go there to the place where you were, but home ain't there. Home is where you are now, and make the best of it. It's all I got to tell you, because that will help you with your sanity. Here's to you guys. Chill out. And of course, back then, we walked everywhere. We walked. Did I ever walk into town? Sure, it was only 3 miles. And so yeah, I didn't like to. I had a bicycle, but it wasn't half the time. It wasn't functional. You know what I mean? And so I'd walk into town. I didn't like to walk into town because I knew people there. I knew people in town because I in school. But they had all kind of games. I mean, they were into games. They were into sandlot football, baseball, all kind of stuff. I didn't know anything about that crap. I didn't. I mean, I'd play and act like I knew what the hell I was doing, but I had no clue. And they also, they shot pool. They did a lot of, they'd go shoot pool somewhere. And, I learned, and it was okay. I did okay. I was as good as anybody. And, but yeah, it was just in town, that was just a natural thing to do. But out in the country, it was nothing natural about that. We didn't have a pool table. I don't even think we had a deck of cards. You know what I mean? And a lot of the kids knew card games. I didn't. I learned, but that's the way it is. But anyway, guys, from the farm, so to speak, back in Kennedy, Texas, in the 50s and 60s. Now I'll leave there and get here and have me another swallow of beer. You get that poem there? Here's to you, here's to me. Skål, cheers, prost, etc. So what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is enjoy your life the best you can. Now, what is sanity? I'd ask old dummy over here, the Google Home device, but she ain't going to help me. Right here, I'll do it. Hey, Google, define sanity.
Here's the definition of sanity: the ability to think and behave in a normal and rational manner, sound mental health.
Well, that excludes all of us. Well, so much for sanity sessions. Anyway, guys, Friday night, chill out, enjoy your life, enjoy your weekend coming up. Thumbs up, guys. Carpe diem, seize the day. Adios, bye-bye. Buy anything you want. Use the Amazon link if you want food with it. Drink plenty of water. 3 or 4 quarts a day won't hurt you. And, yeah, enjoy your weekend, seriously. And keep your health. Focus on your health. Mental health, too. Accentuate the positive. Adios, amigos. Bye bye. Hasta luego. Vaya con Dios. Aloha. Bye.